When I mentioned before that Elly Arrow and one of her anti-prostitution arguments quoted from a Planned Parenthood list of what makes acceptable sex, that both parties have to be enthusiastic about it. But the fact is that people have voluntary, non-coerced sex for a variety of reasons. Now, I realize that some sex is very exploitative, but it can be, non-coercive and non-exploitative without necessarily being enthusiastic on both sides. And I will give you an example. Okay, Phil Donahue did a show about lesbian moms having kids. Okay, and there was a lesbian mother who stood up in the audience and talked about her experience of motherhood. And Phil Donahue asked, did you use a sperm bank? She replied, no, I used a man. And everybody burst out laughing. Now, of course, that sounds kind of funny. I used a man. We don't usually, but maybe that's kind of a play on a much more common idea that women are used or exploited by men. But the thing there is, as a lesbian, she might not have been really enthused about the sex itself. She wanted the sex, though. She wanted the sex because she wanted to get pregnant. Sometimes that is the primary motivation for having sex. And it's not necessarily even to express love. It's not to, because you have a great deal of desire, sexual desire for the other person. It might just be that you're a woman who wants to have a baby, or that you're a man who wants to get a woman pregnant. Okay, and this is very often the motivation. And when this is the motivation, enthusiasm on both sides might not be understood in the same way that enthusiasm on both sides would be understood as, desire on both sides or pleasure on both sides. I mean, as a lesbian, she might be very unlikely to really enjoy the sex act. Maybe she just endured it. But she endured it because she wanted to endure it, because she wanted to have a baby. Now, the fact is that man is not a rapist. Okay? And similarly, if a woman wants a man's $100, the man's not a rapist if he coughs it up. So, and they have sex, and whether she's enthusiastic about the sex itself or not is another question. Now, one thing Julie Bindel says in her article, and Julie Bindel is another one who's very strongly opposed to prostitution and campaigns against it. And she makes the statement that obviously the woman doesn't want to have sex with the man because if she did, the money would not be necessary. That is from a lesbian viewpoint. And as a lesbian, she may not recognize the fact that, in heterosexuality, there is a built-in difference of risk in partnered sex. And even if a woman does enjoy, is attracted to the man, she might want compensation for that difference in risk. Okay, and again, that's kind of hard for her to understand because there's really no difference in risk between two people of the same sex, especially between two women. Now, that doesn't mean that it's paradise between two women, or that you don't have problems between two women. It just means that there's not a different risk between two women. Okay. And she doesn't really understand that, and understand that the money could be compensation for that. Another type of compensation for that was the tradition by which the husband was supposed to support the wife. That was to compensate her for the fact that she was the one who had the babies. And in marriages which didn't produce babies, she was the one who risked having the babies. But anyway, I just wanted to